Okay, so we're going to look at different Christmas traditions from around the world using some immersive technology. In particular, this Quest 3 headset and a little mixed reality app that I've put together, which will put me in that country, so to speak, and then I'll look at my notes and tell you about some of the traditions in that country. So let's start with Austria. So this is, for me, a very typically Austrian architecture and scene. This is the Hofburg Museum, which is also a silver museum, led to believe. So all these people over here, they are queued up to see probably large amounts of silver. But back to traditions. Now they have the concept of the Krampus, or the bad Santa, and what they do is around Christmas time is they wander the streets in search of badly behaved children, which sounds absolutely terrifying, especially if you're dressed up like this, and there's a whole bunch of them. So yeah, the sidekick of St. Nicholas is the Krampus in Austria. So look out, kids, if you see these people, maybe run the other way. Okay, on to China. Again, this is kind of, for me, like a typical Chinese setting. This is the Forbidden Palace in China, which my notes tell me was completed in 1420. And in China, because the word for Christmas Eve is very, very similar to apple, they exchange apples, large amounts of apples, on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day to each other. They even managed to get these wonderful designs on them. I don't know how they do that. I don't know if they have like a sticker on there or they do something to affect the pigmentation, but it's fascinating. The other thing that I found really interesting is in China, it's very, very common to see images of Santa playing the saxophone. I don't know why this is, but for what you'll see loads of images of Santa playing the saxophone in China. So that is a couple of interesting things that goes on in China throughout Christmas period. On to the Czech Republic. Now this is the Charles Bridge in the middle of Prague, which I'm told joins the old town Prague and new town. I couldn't tell you which is which. It all looks old to me. I've never been to Prague. It's on my list of places to go though. And in the Czech Republic, they've got an interesting tradition, which is on Christmas Eve, unmarried Czech women stand with their back to the door. They throw their shoe behind them over their shoulder, and if it lands with a toe facing the door, then they're going to be married within the year. If it's facing away from the door, then they're going to be single for another year. So it's hard to argue with the science behind that one, but there you go. Shoe throwing is what happens on Christmas Eve in Czech Republic, and hopefully no one's been injured in the throwing of these shoes. On to Germany. Now this is the Neuschwanstein, I believe, if I've said that right, probably not, castle, which is amazing. It looks drafty if you ask me, and I think that steel bit at the bottom was a later addition. But yeah, this is the castle. Again, we got snow, so staying with the Christmas theme. This is a 19th century hilltop castle built for King Ludwig II, and it's pretty much as far south as you can get in Germany without actually being in Austria when I looked at the map. Amazing. Anyway, in Germany, it is traditional to put a Christmas decoration on the tree, a pickle, and the first child that finds this hidden pickle Christmas decoration on the tree gets an extra present. So like a gamified hide and seek Christmas decorating happening in Germany. Amazing. On to Iceland. Now I couldn't find much in the way of Iceland architecture, but when I think of Iceland, I think of these massive wide open expanses, so I went with that, and we got snow again, so we're trying to keep with the December and Christmas theme, although it's pretty snowy in Iceland a lot of the time, I'm led to believe. They've got some interesting traditions. So they've got the gigantic Yule cat, which apparently roams the countryside at Christmas time, and it was an incentive for workers to work hard, and if they did, they received a new set of clothes, and if they didn't, not only would they not receive clothes, but they would be devoured by the gigantic Yule cat, which looks terrifying. And I'm led to believe that in Iceland, it's customary for everyone to give clothes to each other, and it's also kids are told you've got to wear your jumper from grandma, or the Yule cat will get you. So it's kind of using an incentive for children to wear the clothes that were purchased for them, also led to believe. They also have got another tradition I can totally get behind, which is the exchange of books, or the Jollablokkaflott, or the book flood, every Christmas Eve. And then after exchanging books, they all cozy up by the fire, eat sweets and read aloud. Hopefully not all at the same time, so that'd be annoying, but I can completely get behind that one. Last one they have in Iceland is these Yule lads, or the 13 Jólasveina. and they roam the country at the fortnight before Christmas, these 13 Yule lads, but each one's got a different personality, including, these are hilarious, doorway sniffer, spoon licker, sausage swiper, candle stealer, curd gobbler, and window peeper. I don't know which is which, but those are the Yule lads in Iceland. Okay, on to Japan. So this is Nara National Park, a great big temple. There's lots of temples in Japan, both Shinto and Buddhist. I've been to Nara National Park. It is beautiful. They have these deer that bow to you, and then you feed them, and I think you bow back. It's kind of reinforcement learning for the local fauna, to be honest. But in Japan, they have an interesting tradition going back to the 1974, when a very popular marketing campaign for KFC took off called Kentucky for Christmas, which to this day results in a large number of Japanese populace go to KFC for their Christmas meal, either standing in line for hours or ordering their meals months in advance. Now, this is completely legit. As well as being here, my brother lives in Japan. He says this is completely what happens. This is not made up. This is completely true. So well done for the marketing team at KFC. Hope you got a bonus that year. So yeah, that was Japan. On to Mexico. For me, this is very typical Mexican scene and architecture. I don't think this is Chichen Itza. I've been to Chichen Itza, but this is definitely a Mayan temple. I looked at, I don't know where it is though. Anyway, in Mexico, in particular on December 23rd, the residents of Oaxaca, I don't think this is Oaxaca by the way, they carve nativity scenes and all sorts of scenes, to be honest, into radishes. So if you are from Fraggle Rock, you might want to get over to Mexico on December 23rd. But I think this is what happens in many places throughout Mexico, and they have these fantastic radish displays. If you search for radish, Mexico Christmas, you'll be amazed at what they come up with. But I thought that was an interesting one. Radishes in Mexico and Christmas. In the Netherlands, now this is a very typical Netherlands scene, right? You got canals and bicycles. This is unmistakably the Netherlands. Children put their shoes by the fire on the days leading up to 25th. They'll put the carrots in their shoes for Sinterklaas, who is the St. Nicholas, I guess, for his faithful horse called Amerigo, I believe. And in the olden days, they would be swapped out for little presents in there. And if naughtily behaved children would receive a potato or rotten potatoes in their shoes instead. But I'm led to believe that's not really happens so much these days. In the same way we don't really put coal in stockings in the UK. Okay, so that is the Netherlands. Onto the Norway. Now, I think this is my favourite scene, other than the height where I'm very, very high in the air. I don't know how this is possible, but I love the landscape in Norway. This is unmistakably Norway. Again, snow, so we got Christmas theme going, but large expanses of water, fjords and rolling mountains. It looks amazing. But in Norway, out on Christmas Eve, they all hide their brooms and sweeps, because it said that on Christmas Eve is when witches and mischievous spirits come out and cause mischief and mayhem. So they hide their brushes so that the witches can't grab them and go fly around. So there we go. People hide their brooms and brushes in Norway on Christmas Eve. So last few now, on to Spain. Now this is Basilica de la Sagrada Familia by Antonio Gaudí, started in the 1880s, unmistakably Spanish. Now the interesting tradition I could find for them was that every year since the late 19th century, they have a national lottery called El Gordo, or the big one, that's drawn usually on December 22nd. And families buy lots of tickets and sit together and wait for the numbers to be revealed, which apparently are sang by a choir of 22 school children. And everyone's waiting to see if they're going to win like life-changing amounts of money. So that's an interesting tradition. Okay, on to Sweden. This is definitely Sweden. I've been to both Stockholm and Gothenburg, but I don't know if this is either of them, probably. In Sweden, they have this concept of the Yule goat, which is probably the oldest tradition that I've got here, which dates back to the 11th century, as they say that St. Nicholas first appeared as a goat to ward off the devil. Anyway, these days they have a massive straw Yule goat, like 40 foot high, and they also have smaller decorations, straw Yule goats as well. And the other interesting tradition I found for them was they have this annual Christmas cartoon going back to, again, I think about the 1970s, maybe earlier, where families all plan their evenings around sitting down together and watching at 3 p.m. every Christmas Eve this cartoon, the Donald Duck cartoon, Donald Duck special. That's an interesting one. And the best is last, probably, in the Ukraine. So this is, again, a nice snowy landscape. So let's pretend it's Christmas, shall we? And this is St. Sophia's Cathedral in Ukraine. I don't know what the relevance is, but I believe it's a very famous landmark in Ukraine. And they have some interesting traditions. So first of all, cobwebs are very, very popular as used as decorations in Ukraine, and it's also led to believe that it's a sign of good luck. If you've cobwebs in your house, not in my house, I have a kill and answer, ask questions later agreement with spiders in my house. But they have, and this cobweb story goes back to apparently a folktale when a poor widow couldn't afford to decorate a tree, and the spiders pitied her. So when everyone went to sleep, they came out and decorated the tree with their cobwebs, so that the children could enjoy a decorated tree. Okay. They also have a national dish at Christmas time called a kutya, which is like a honey soupy thing. Anyway, it must be sticky because what they do is they throw it at the ceiling, and if it sticks to the ceiling, not everyone, but some families, they throw it. If it sticks to the ceiling, that is a sign that there's going to be a good harvest. And if it doesn't, presumably, other than having kutya in your hair, that it means there isn't going to be a good harvest. And then the last one that they have in the Ukraine, and for this talk as well, is that apparently they have 12 courses during their traditional Christmas meals, one for each of Jesus's apostles. So in Ukraine, you've got cobwebs, sticky food on your ceiling, and lots and lots of food. So fantastic. Hope you enjoyed that. I did really enjoy looking at the different traditions for different countries and what they do around Christmas time. But I like to think that we aren't defined by differences, we're defined by our similarities and our desire to be together and love one another and celebrate togetherness around Christmas time. I think that's what brings us all together. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. Follow me on LinkedIn, on YouTube at Lee Engelstone if you want to see more immersive videos like this, or just to see what I'm up to really. I have a few different experiments. But until then, enjoy the festive period. Bye now.